A very good morning and good evening to all of you. In India, Diwali festivities have already begun, so I wish all of you, on behalf of Mambusha Scholars Association of India, a very, very happy Diwali. The launching of Kizuna India Japan Study Forum last month by the Mambusha Scholars Association of India has generated a lot of enthusiasm among researchers and scholars of Japanese studies. The forum is aimed at promoting the study of under-researched aspects of India-Japan historical and cultural interactions by holding lectures on a monthly basis. This is open to all young and old researchers and scholars. We want them to share and exchange their work, encapsulating rich history and contacts between the two countries in trade, business, economic, cultural, and philosophical spheres. The forum has already held 3 lectures last month. First, by João Paulo Costa from Lisbon, Portugal. He spoke on Kurofune, the first ship which linked India directly to Japan. And the second lecture was by Professor Masumi Igarashi, Okayama University. She spoke on cultural exchanges among Indian and Japanese painters since the beginning of the 20th century. And the third lecture was by Mr. Mukund Kirsur from Bangalore, India. And he spoke on Japanese contribution in the development of sericulture in India. And all the 3 presentations were extremely fascinating and informative. Today, for the 4th lecture, which is being organized by Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum, we have amongst us a very versatile and dynamic person, Ms. Tomo Kawane, a scholar, a social worker, and a creative artist, a very rare combination indeed. Ms. Tomo Kawane is a senior researcher at the India-Japan Laboratory, Keio University, Japan. She is also a visiting researcher at the Asia-Eurasia Research Institute, Tokyo. She has been part of the advisory committee of the Indo-Japan Business Council, Pune, and the Asian Community News Advisory Board, New Delhi. She rendered a great service during 2001 Kutch earthquake in Gujarat, India, coordinating with Indian and Japanese agencies for disaster relief and rehabilitation. Tomo Kawane-san, born and brought up in Tokyo, has made India her home for the last 30 years. Not just Tomo-san, even her husband and 3 daughters, all are actively involved in strengthening the artistic, literary, and cultural ties between India, Japan, and the world. Besides her mother tongue, Japanese, she is also fluent in Hindi, Gujarati, English, French, and German, and has studied Urdu, Punjabi, and Bengali. She will be talking today on connecting India and Japan, curiosity, goodwill, and flavors of India. Love for Indian values and aesthetics and flavors have been playing a significant role in the Japanese society, quietly weaving friendship between the Indians and the Japanese. Japanese craze for Rash Bihari Bose curry rice is well known, and Nakamura's business is still roaring. Tomo Kamarne will narrate her experiences of bilateral interactions through 3 decades of her life in India, and how she does it. It's a big surprise for all of us. Over to you, Tomo-san, please.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a really an honor for me to be able to talk to you all here on this venue. Dr. Ashokji and Professor Sushiraji both are very dear to me. I have great respect for both of them and all the people associated with Mosai who have had experience to study in India and are still willing to share whatever they have learned and inspiring coming generations. So today, I specially requested Mosai to let me have this view of where I am. Today I am at the Yokohama Diwali Festival, and we actually are at the venue of exhibition of Discover India Club, and we have been showing all these to Indians and Japanese, whosoever are visiting a venue, to be able to understand what kind of activities we have been doing to promote people to people relationship. And it is not just through academic exchanges, but we do share meals together, and also we do social work together. We study together about different subjects, and also we go back to the histories to understand what we have done right and what we may have to learn from whatever we have been doing, uh, whatever we have missed in our history. So um, we are actually in the tent today, and I was listening to so many beautiful Indian music, and both Indian communities and Japanese communities are dancing together, singing together, and we had a very beautiful procession of Diwali with diyas in the hands of beautiful dancers, and whosoever was present, they all appreciated. And the most amazing thing was we had lots of children around today who also participated in the cultural performances, as well as eating food together with the Japanese friends. So in my personal history, these kind of activities actually had a great impact to be able to learn about Indian culture more. And I really appreciate that the kind of hospitality, as well as the kind of openness which Indian society has. Indians are always ready to share joys and hospitality with their friends, whether they are from Japan or any other countries. We always have something to celebrate together. So going back to the reason why I decided to come to India, one of the reasons was I was quite fascinated by Indian food. The Indian food which I tasted, I really liked it, but I didn't know how to cook Indian with Indian masalas. So I traveled Gujarat, and I came to know that there are various ways of blending masalas, and each family has their own special kind of masalas, and that is how they try to do their, best to celebrate every day, as well as cherishing their moments with family and friends. And actually, to connect people, food and flavors, and also sharing the space together, drinking same water, and having the same kind of festivals where people can get together means a lot for people. As and when I had the opportunity to do some social work in India, I always learned that there are certain differentiations or the kind of reluctantness to intermingle with other communities. But somehow my being foreigner and still able to communicate in the vernacular languages did help them to open up a little bit more and be able to interact with each other. So I actually was writing, I tried to write a longer poem, but I wrote a very small, short poem. It's just about 10 lines that I wanted to share with you. So I'm just reading that. It's in Hindi. भात के साथ रास्ता मेरी, जैसे सोचा ऐसे होता, तो और कुछ नहीं सोचना, हमेशा कुछ कुछ अलग होता, तो भी मजा होती रोज रोज, रास्ता ढूंढ ढूंढ कर, मेहनत कर करके, लोगों के साथ साथ, दीवार की रोशनी पर आशा के साथ, चलते चलते साथ में, कदम कदम पर आपकी याद में। ये मैंने लिखा था। मेरे पास आज बहुत सारे लोग आए थे। कुछ बच्चे यूनिवर्सिटी के आए थे, कुछ लोग गुजरात से भी आए थे। पैंडेमिक के बाद अभी अभी पढ़ने के लिए टोक्यो में आए, ऐसे कोई कुछ नौसरी के बच्चे भी थे। उन लोगों को मैंने पहले ऐसा कहा कि यहाँ आने से पहले यहाँ आने से पहले आप ये जरूर इनको बोलना कि मेरे साथ कम से कम 2-3 जन साथ में मेरे से मिलने ये टोमो से मिलने के लिए आए। तो कम से कम आज मेरे पास 50 इतने लोग आए थे। उसमें से लगभग 30 जन तो नए लोग थे। इन सब से मैंने बात की थी। कुछ लोग जापान के थे, कुछ लोग इंडिया के थे, या तो कुछ लोग इंडोनेशिया के थे, चाइना के थे, कोरिया के थे। बहुत कुछ देशों से अभी पढ़ने के लिए बच्चे आते हैं। उन लोगों से मिलके मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। और ये ऐसा एक मौका था कि यहाँ पर आके भारत का खाना साथ में खाना और साथ में भारत का गाना सुनना, भारत का नाचना देखना और कुछ जापानीज के हिंदी भाषण सुनना, यूट्यूबर की कहानी सुननी, ऐसी बहुत मजे की बात कुछ होती थी। तो मैं ऐसा सोचती हूँ कि हम यूनिवर्सिटी में जाके बहुत कुछ पढ़ते हैं, किताब खोलते हैं, अभी तो ऑनलाइन में रिसोर्सेज पढ़ते हैं, प्रोफेसर्स के लेक्चर सुनने के लिए भी जाते हैं। लेकिन अगर दुनिया में कुछ और जानना है तो मैं तो ये जरूर बोलूंगी कि दूसरे देश का खाना कोई उस देश के लोगों के साथ खाए या तो कुछ और देशों के लोगों के साथ खाए। तो उसमें ये ऐसा है कि बहुत कुछ और जानने की कोशिश लोग करते हैं। मैंने आज लगभग 200 जितने डांसर्स को देखा था यहाँ पे। उनके जो पहनने का कपड़े सब भारतीय ड्रेसेस थे, इंडियन ड्रेसेस थे। काफी अच्छे से शो के लिए इन्होंने स्पेशली बनवा भी दिया था। वो पहन के बहुत खुश होके डांस कर रहे थे। वो देखिए मैंने सोचा कि इनसे कुछ पूछूं, आप ये क्यों करते हो, डांस करने के लिए आप क्यों आए? तो लगभग 10 में से 8 लोग इन्होंने ऐसा कहा कि पहले हम इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट में गए थे, या तो पहले इंडिया में गए थे, या तो पहले इंडियन गाना के साथ कुछ इनको बहुत प्यार हो गया। तो दिस इज हाउ पीपल कम टू लव दैट इंडिया। सो actually, I just realized that I was speaking in Hindi, but mostly I have studied in English medium, but I always try to speak in Hindi as much as possible. If it is in another state, then I try to speak in that vernacular language because that will always allow us to be able to come bit more closer to the local people. And the same kind of efforts, I mean, I have been seeing among Mombusho scholars who are coming to Japan. They make lots of effort to learn Japanese language and also to understand our Japanese culture. They travel, they interact with people, they eat food together, they cook food together with their friends, they explore new cultural forms, dance, music. So these kind of activities, even Indian students are doing in Japan. And that actually closes our gap, whatever it is, and it really makes sense. And today, in this tent, we have one presentation about the history of Yokohama and India. Yokohama and Mumbai, these are the first sister cities in Japan. And it was in the year 1896, Japan Consulate was opened in Bombay, then Bombay. So since then, already so many years have passed, and in between, we had a big earthquake, Great Kanto earthquake in 1923, and Yokohama City had been badly affected. And there are a number of Indians who supported local people to recover from the earthquake. So there is a memorial for that also in this town. So this kind of exchanges and interactions have been remembered by people quite well. And now we are having so many new generations. I saw many Indian international school students dancing on the stage today, and they become more vocal, I think, in these days, these years, and especially after the pandemic, since it was the first occasion for them to come on stage for the performance. It was really valuable for both the children and the parents to come and join this festival with Japanese community. So I have actually lived in India for last 30 years, but most of my time I have spent in rural areas. I visited many villages for my survey, for my work, for my research activities, along with Japanese and Indian scholars. And through that visit, I have come to know that being a foreigner sometimes helps me to probably able to intermingle with the local population better and probably be able to become a kind of catalyst in the local society. And I think today, when I look at the Indians living in Japan, having learned Japanese language, trying to educate the children in Japanese schools or international schools, but in Japanese environment, they have been doing immense services to both the countries to be able to establish the kind of most ideal bridge to connect themselves as well as young generations. I have seen today there are some children who are doing garba, and there are many parents who are coming from different states. Some are from South India, mostly IT professionals, and some other from trade communities, but from different states, various states. But then purpose of getting together, has become more important and more strong, probably there in a foreign culture. For them to seek a kind of Indianness in a country like Japan, then it becomes not like a state-specific culture, but on this kind of occasion, it's become India. So it's very curious to find that those who are coming from different states are actually finding the reason to unite here by trying to celebrate the festival together and trying to impart some cultural education to their children who are living in foreign land like Japan. Then I was talking to some young generation who who are actually born in India and have studied in Japanese society and not knowing much about India. When they saw that Japanese community in Yokohama and those who are coming to this Yokohama festival to see the Diwali festival, the kind of enthusiasm actually encouraged them to appreciate what they have learned from their parents, grandparents, from their other Indian friends in Japan. Then I thought that probably in living in a foreign country, this Indian community may be able to offer a very valuable insight to Indians who are living in India, what is valued and what is appreciated and what can be shared together beyond communities, beyond nationalities, probably beyond genders. So this kind of very warm feeling I had today, and the kind of curiosity I thought only Japanese may be having more curiosity to India is not just one-sided, but Indians who are living in Japan came to know about how much we have been, say, interested about, here I just show you history of Yokohama. This is a chart about Yokohama city. And here we are talking about uh, Rabindranath Tagore. And this is a book of Rabindranath Tagore. And, many people who have actually studied on Tagore. And there are some example like how NDRF from India came to Japan to offer their services at Onagawa after the earthquake in 2011. And at the same time, we have many Japanese artists who have mastered Indian art and keep on performing at different venues. And we actually had a study tour of East Japan earthquake also as a club to understand how much it was affected and why Indian team did come. And also we have this tribal art workshop to understand the life of tribal people and the kind of heritage they have. And at the same time, we do try to understand about, some basic figures to know about India. And now there is a quite lots of talk on the number of population in India will be soon surpassing China, and India will be most populous country. So then we also talk about the Buddha's birthplace, and also from where we are trying to expand our diplomatic relationship, and at the same time we try to do some fusion between Indian and the Japanese culture. So we have some traditional performances, and also at the same time we try to appreciate what this each community has as their own art form. And we also learn about the geography, and at the same time we try to plant sakura trees so that we are able to have some relationship between people to people of these two countries, so that we can celebrate these cherry blossoms together. And at the same time we learn a lot about our food culture, and also Indian food culture. And we have special interest in this Northeast. Can you see that? Some Northeast states, some of the members have already traveled, and we try to learn about more about the differences which Northeast states have in India. And also we have actually learned a lot about some Japanese painters who have devoted their life to paint the Buddhist paintings. And at the same time, apart from that, we also study a lot about Gandhi's philosophy. So this is a presentation, and that is how we try to learn about different cultures and different people and different states. And so this kind of curiosity actually helps us a lot to overcome a kind of biases, because we have lots of possibilities to bring in many more people to understand and also discuss what could be the way to increase more people to people interactions. So this is how I have been interacting with people in Japan here. And I believe that for enhancing people to people exchanges between India and Japan, we can probably increase more interaction through this music and also attires. And also we need to have more celebration together of these festivals and learning Indian languages. And what is important from these experiences, we learn to accommodate each other, and also we learn to become tolerant. And it's like to create a community together in a foreign country. So this is how I have been doing my activities in Japan. I have done a lot of social work in India also, but here in Japan, this is how I try to interact with people. And through that, these activities, I think I may be able to connect more people. Thank you so much. So though it is not very long, I would prefer to have some interactions, if you may allow. Yes, please. Sushila-ji, you are muted.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Tomo-san, for your very lucid and fascinating presentation. I never knew that you are also a poet. I mean, you write so well. Your poem was very, very, very meaningful and very nice. And it was also very nice of you to show us, take us around all your photo exhibition and focus on various aspects of India-Japan relations. So now I request Dr. Ashok Jain, who is our discussant today. He is an eminent scientist of both national and international recognition and a recipient of His Majesty Japanese Emperor's Award. He is a mixed scholar, physics research, Kyoto University from 1963 to 66, and a diplomat science attaché, Indian Embassy, Tokyo, from 1974 to 78. He has been in physics research and teaching at universities of Delhi and Bristol, and in planning and management of science at national and international levels with the DST, Government of India, and Commonwealth Science Council, London. Subsequently, as director of CSIR's National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies, he got into science, society, and development studies, an area in which he continues to work after retirement also. He is a fellow of National Academy of Sciences, India. And let us not forget, he has been steering MOSAI for last so many years. So we are all here because of him. So over to you, Dr. Jain.
Thank you so much. Indeed, it's been an experience listening to you, Tomo-san. I think it's a fascinating journey that you have presented. Just to contrast from your journey, I was a Met scholar in 1963. And Japan has changed since then.
Okay.
But as you said, the diversity and fascination for diversity of India and creating in a kind of unity in diversity which Japan excels has deepened. And your presentation is very refreshing in the sense that, yes, India-Japan relations are expanded. Number of Japanese companies have increased, number of tourists have increased, number of diplomatic exchanges have increased, new areas of cooperation have increased. But I think your presentation brings out an extremely important feature, that is the deepening of these relations, not simply expansion, but deepening of relations. And I think we are grateful to you for pointing out this extremely important element, because unless we have deep roots, the relations would not grow tall. So I think this deepening of our roots, which you have brought out, to me is extremely important. The second point which you have mentioned is also very significant. You have made a distinction between knowing, information, and experience. There is one thing to know about a country. There's one thing to know about food. But real understanding comes when you experience it. You can listen to music, but when you start singing with people, then the real power of music comes in. In fact, this is interesting because if I go to an Indian restaurant, I would not ask for Indian food. I would ask for dosa, whatever. Similarly, when Japanese go to a Japanese restaurant, they won't ask for Japanese food. And yet, Indians are attracted to Japanese food, and Japanese are attracted to Indian food. Now, interesting, but you go to an Indian restaurant, then your understanding of Indian food becomes deeper. Similarly, if you go to Japanese restaurant, then you understand what is Japanese food. And particularly in case of Japan, As they say that in Japan, you don't eat only from your mouth, but also from your eyes. So then you appreciate that how diverse dishes in Japan are connected through a common aesthetics, the display. And the display is typically Japanese display, the color combination, the size of the thing. So I think this particular element, if I can be personal, you see, why I went to Japan 1963, my image of Japan was that of a foreign country. And as a student, was a foreign country for me, what I had seen in movies, the West. So the first surprise for me was to go to Komawa students' hostel. The rooms were so small. And I said, look, I have come to a foreign country. And the room is much smaller than what I had in Delhi University dormitory. Where have I come? But then gradually I realized how to live, how to appreciate smallness, how to be comfortable with minimum kind of space. And I think this particular realization of Japanese culture would not have come by reading. It's only when you live there. Now, similarly, later on when I went, you talked about Max scholars knowing Japanese language. I mean, surely, 1963, I was a very bad Max scholar. I was told that, look, you are going for physics, you don't have to learn Japanese. But fortunately for me, I was staying with a Japanese family. And there I picked up conversational Japanese, but not as much as I would have liked. Because my Obasan, the old lady, she picked up English faster than I could pick up Japanese. So what Kawane-san, you said that the curiosity about India among Japanese is very significant. So my landlady wanted to talk to me, wanted to make me comfortable. So she picked up English. But of course, in this Geishuku type of place, my other two colleagues was one Shinjo Sensei, teacher of Japanese, and one Asma-san, who was preparing for the foreign service. So I had a very good interaction and understanding of how they started learning from me and I could start learning from them. I think the point is that at the surface, India appears to be very diverse. But as you said, once you start living, then you understand that it's the diversity which is India. I mean, the point is that people ask, how do you identify an Indian? So Indian is identified by the fact that Indians can live with diversity. Now, interestingly, Japan, the diversity has a much deeper meaning. In the outside, things look uniform. But inside, individualistic, diverse, to the extent that, for example, in literature, sometimes the characters are not given names. Because if you give a name, then you start associating that person with somebody. And so if you make the external uniform, then necessarily you have to look at inside. And this is something which I learned from Japan very strongly. That the diversity in outside is not necessarily the diversity you are looking for. And this understanding is extremely important for the Japanese to understand India, that it's external diversity but inner uniformity. And in Japan, the outside diversity, uniformity, but inner diversity. So once you start understanding this kind of a combination of diversity and uniformity, the life becomes really enjoyable. And I think your presentation brought this out beautifully in dance, in dresses, in food. So I am delighted that you brought out an extremely important feature of India-Japan relation, which is the deepening of relations. Many 200 events have been held
Hmm.
to
Yes, sir.
celebrate.
Actually, the most important part is it is actually really happening right now,
Yes,
happening on daily basis that we need to focus.
focus. Yes,
I think when we look at the bilateral relations, mostly we look at diplomatically, right? But
or economic.
yes, economically, but we forget people.
Exactly,
Often we
exactly.
forget people, and we need to look at the society. We need
Yes,
to look at the kind of curiosity and interest among the people and why they are interested. And there could be some, say very famous movie, you know,
yes,
that could trigger some urban part of like society in Japan to get hooked to that particular hero. Then comes particular kind of like music, then dance, then all these kind of things connecting one to another. Then that will again bring new movies in Japan. Will you be able to imagine that I have been invited to watch, some very limited, broadcasting of Gujarati films.
yes,
Yes, they are sending out, one movie company is sending out invitation to only few selected people who could understand Gujarati as well as Gujarati culture. So they have been following, the scholars who have been related to Gujarati studies, Gujarat studies, Gujarati language. Then they are sending invite. This company, big movie company, is sending invite to such scholars so that whatever they are trying to sell to the Japanese market would be able to have some kind of positive, income for them, positive like
yes,
response from the Japanese public, general public. So it's come to now that level. Bengali movies, Gujarati movies, then Tamil movies, very, very popular.
yeah,
So then because of those movies, some people get more curious about, okay, if I see those dances in the movies and they're doing, so joyfully, why not I?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, that happens. And today, I met a gentleman for the first time who's selling Japanese food items in among Indian communities in Japan,
yeah,
as well as to the vegetarians in India. So his focus is vegetarian food, vegetarian source. So he's trying with Indians as a kind of like a trial market in Japan. Then he will be exporting. So that kind of business aspect is also um, combined. Like one Japanese company had food exhibition at some respected communities in urban areas in India, so that they will be able to understand that how their market can be expanding. So this food business part is very important.
very good. I would just add that food business is important, but eating together
Yes, 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 yes.
is equally important.
Yes, of course, eating together is very important.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
that's what I mean. I really loved Japan because I could
Uh-huh.
eat with Japanese people. I would go to
Mhm.
Ofuro those days hot bath
Okay.
with my
Okay.
Japanese
Okay.
friends.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
those kinds of things. Anyway, I'm sure Suchila ji, people would like to interact with
Yes. Yes. Sushila ji,
Kawane-san.
please.
So probably people can raise hands if they want to.
Mhm. Mhm.
Over to you, Suchila ji.
So now the floor is open for interaction. Both Dr. Jan and Tomo, they have narrated very interesting and fascinating anecdotes through their personal experiences during their stay in Japan. So now please feel free to interact with them.
Yes. Yes.
And you
Yes.
can put your question in the chat box also.
Ritam Pasricha is.
Ritam
Yes.
Pasricha, you want
Ritam.
to ask? Yes, please.
You're muted.
Ritam, please unmute yourself.
Ritam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm very happy to see. I wanted to listen to Kawane-san. That's why I joined in. I've only recently been got in touch with her, and I've been living in Japan for 22 years, and I came as a trailing spouse because my husband was working here, and I was just 24 years old at that time, and I raised my children here, and
Mm.
I was so yeah, and like you said, it is very important to experience a culture. And when I was growing up in India, I did not know anything about Japan. It was like we kind of grew up on Western literature, but
Mhm. Mhm.
never anything about Japan. So, like
Mhm.
you mentioned, everything was small, and you thought that
Mhm.
Professor Jan said, and the same thing was me. But over
Mhm.
years, I've learned to appreciate everything, and
Mhm.
the smallness, and
Mhm.
the beauty of this culture. And I've become so interested in the literature,
Mhm.
Japanese literature. So yeah, I'm doing my own bit, like as a homemaker, and I've been like teaching Hindi also to many corporates. They have been like going to India. So I remember I did a project for Lixil, which is a
Mhm.
bathroom. They are going to planning to expand in India the
Mhm.
toiletries. So I taught their employees Hindi,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I'm teaching English as well in many Japanese companies. So yeah, that I can also see. I came in 2000, and now I see lot of changes in Japan from the time when I came, and I can
Mhm.
understand 63
Mhm.
1963 how it would have been. I'm only imagining
Mhm.
that, but in
Mhm.
even in 2000 things were much different than what
Mhm.
they are now.
Mhm.
So yes, in my own way, I've been, trying to learn more about this culture. Like you said, eating together. I've been like in
Mhm.
India, it is very common for you to just invite people to your home, okay,
Mhm.
please come home, and, I'll cook something for you. So,
Mhm.
which is very well appreciated by Japanese
Mhm.
people, home
Mhm.
cooked food. And it
Mhm.
is something very natural, comes very natural to us Indians,
Mhm.
just cooking at
Mhm.
home and just
Mhm.
inviting people over. So,
Mhm.
those kind of things we have been doing with
Mhm.
Japanese
Mhm.
people. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I'm very happy
Yes.
to listen to
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Kawan.
Sushila
Thank
ji,
you
can
so
I?
much.
Thank you, Ritam.
uh,
You said you came at the age of 22
24, I was 24. I just
and
got married.
22 years, but you still look 24. Is it the
Same
Thanks
Japanese
to
time.
people that
Japan.
Yes. 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 Yes.
there?
I'm pretty old now. My son is in college.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank
Sushila
you.
ji, I just wanted to narrate one incident which showed the
Yes, please.
difference.
Mhm.
Yes.
Around when I was in the Indian Embassy 1972-73,
Mhm.
the Indian food was known simply as a spicy food.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the advertisement or TV advertisement of masala used to be Indo Jin Mo Bikuri.
Intoshimo bikkuri.
Indo Jin.
Intoshi
Because
bikkuri.
those days, spice means Indian food. But
Mhm.
now, lots of other Indian food. So I think this gradual change
Mhm.
through food and so on is very significant. And as Tomo-san was saying, this is life. So we must, I think there would be other younger people wanting to ask questions.
Anybody else, please?
Anuradha has been in Japan.
Please share your experiences, those who have been to Japan.
There you
Yes,
are.
am I audible?
Yes, yes, you
Yes,
are.
yes.
I'm actually speaking from Kerala, and
Okay.
it's really been such a pleasure to hear Kawane-san. And I was particularly interested in what you were saying about the risk preparedness initiatives from both sides. So if you could speak a little more about that, because right now we're on the Kerala coast looking at fishing villages, and we're looking at risk and resilience aspects. So, we have a lot of commonalities there also. So, if
Yeah.
Kawane-san could speak a little more about her
Okay, just second.
experiences.
Okay, just second. Um, okay. So, just my experience. If you say something about resilience, I have worked with rural women for almost 25 years. First, tried to make them aware about how to protect their health, and also we give training to be aware of, to make them aware of how they can, give, say, first aid training kind of thing to their family members, to themselves, and to become, more aware about their surroundings. And it's very, how should I say, it's actually for Indian communities, I find it sometimes it is very difficult if they have not experienced disasters in their, lifetime. It's very difficult for them to get ready for what is coming next, or to be prepared for what's coming next. In my childhood in Japanese school, we are always told that we have to prepare for ourselves for the risks. And we had a kind of, small list, which actually mentions about how to act at the time of the earthquake, how to prevent yourself from getting hurt in daily life. There are many small, tips. That kind of education probably we need to give from the, through the school, throughout school education, and also to the communities which could be having more illiterate population. Then to them, I think workshops that actually work wonders, and they listen to the teachers and also trainers very well. They follow, whatever we taught very well. I remember that I have spent almost 3-4 years in the affected areas. And though I'm not the architect, I have requested some architects to train local masons, and I have watched how they have managed to, so-called, illiterate masons, to be able to understand the basic concept of resilience, and to be able to become a kind of catalyst in their own community to propagate what could be the safest way to protect their families with safe homes, safe structures. And through this experience, I have learned that probably more than Japanese people, Indian people, when they are told about the possibility of being able to protect their families more effectively, so that they are not going to give too much burden on their finance in coming years, then they will follow whatever we teach them or we guide them very diligently. And in that sense, I do not find so-called illiterate people are less than what we call educated. Probably because they may not have been trained in formal schooling. They may be able to have probably good ears to listen to the limited training and be able to practice. But also at the same time, we have to devise such ways so that these people don't get bored. It should be more graphic. It should be based on the examples. It should be taught on site. It should be taught among small groups. It should be taught among their peers so that when the teachers or trainers or educators leave their community, still they are able to relearn among themselves and also re-educate each other. This is how I understand and how I have experienced about the resilience.
That's really fascinating. And also one remarkable similarity is that of the respect for traditional knowledge systems. The fact that there is so much experience of thousands of years of living with the sea, and how that is manifested in the way they live, and where they locate their houses, and how they go fishing. There are all these things which still remain to be documented here, but have been sort of looked into in great detail in Japan.
Yes,
So
yes, sir. It's
thank you
very
very
interesting.
much. Yeah, it really is. Your experience also has been really fascinating. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
To
Anuradha. I see Inoue-san and Ishizaki-san also. Any comment, short comment? Anybody else?
it's very interesting that it's already 7:30 and the program was over 1 hour back here at the
Okay.
festival, but still so many people are coming, and especially I saw just one gentleman who came in wheelchair. He found a bigger space here, so he did the turn. He did see each and every photograph very well.
So shall we? Anybody else or?
Yes.
Inoue-san,
Sorry.
yes, please. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes, I said you because of you mentioned about me and Ishizaki-san, and so that's what I just want to introduce about that. And at the second and October 2nd, we have an Ishizaki-san is organizing a big festival of Aizensai in his shrine, Shinto shrine, and that was celebrating the Ragaraja. And that is also the day of Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. And on that day, I am invited to his Shinto shrine, and I gave the performance of Carnatic music with one and who is and one is a mridangam player who is a Japanese, and another one is flute player who is that Indian living in here in the Japan only. And so we just have such a big festival. So that's why I think Ishizaki-san is speak about more about that festival, I think. Ishizaki-san?
Yes, Ishizaki-san, please. 日本語でもいいです。
日本語でもいいです。
Yeah, はい。Ishizaki-san is a very shy person.
OK、手が上がってる。
ごめんなさい。ちょっと、はい、石崎です。はい。
こんばんは。
Hello, everyone. So, as you might say that can I speak in English? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, Japanese is okay.
はい、どう
Okay.
ぞどうぞ。
この間、井上先生どうもありがとうございました。今、お話ありましたように、10月の2日に、私が仕事をしている日立の国総社宮という神社、で、愛禅祭というイベントをやりました。で、すごい小さい祠のようなところなんですけれども、で、まあ、井上先生おっしゃったように、ラガラジャですね。日本語で言う愛禅明王を祀る神社で、まあ、神仏集合という、その日印関係を象徴する、まあ、社の、まあ、縁日というか、が毎年10月2日で、いつも細々と、まあ、神職のみでやっていたわけですけれども、まあ、今年、日曜日っていうこともあって、で、さっきお話にあったように、ガンディの誕生日だっていうこともありましたので、まあ、何かそういう日印関係、まあ、今年節目の年でもありますので、そういう何か催しができないかということで企画しました。で、井上先生、ご一行に、カルナータカ音楽の、まあ、コンサートをやっていただいて、で、また、全日本、インド人協会の、ヨギさん、プラニック・ヨゲンドラさんの講演をいただいたり、まあ、そういったことをさせていただきました。すいません。日本語でしかうまく説明できなくて。
全然大丈夫です。Yes. よろしく。またなんか一緒にできたらいいですね。
ぜひぜひ。はい。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
どうもありがとうございました。あり
がとうございます。Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, I think let us.
No, there is a hand here. Who's this?
Where?
日本語で書いてますかわかりません。
何日本語で書いてあるちょっと待って。どこですかチャットには書いてないですけど。
あ、そう。
書いてないです。
I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Is there anybody else?
Professor Narasimhan, that's your hand.
My hand?
Yes.
You can speak.
Yes,
that's her hand going up.
Okay, so it was indeed wonderful listening to everybody's experiences and viewpoint. Both Tomo-san and Dr. Jain, I think they endorse various points which have commonalities, and they teach us that there is a lot of importance of everyday interactions among different nationalities and communities, and there is a need to adjust to each other's circumstances, whether it's a small room or whatever it is, and accommodate each other, be tolerant, and enjoy life. So by eating together, by learning each other's cultural aspects, so the lesson that we derive from today's presentation, that we must practice unity in diversity, learning together, living together, and growing together. So with that, I thank Tomo Kawane-san, Dr. Jain, and all the participants who interacted with the speakers, and the audience who joined us, and last but not the least, Manoj-san, for organizing everything on the Zoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the next Kizuna lecture will be held on 19th November. That is also Saturday. And Maya Best, she is in the University of Pittsburgh, and she will be delivering a talk on 19th November. So please note the date, and we will also send you the notifications. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good night. And I think for people in Japan, it's good night.
Patricia-san, you are muted.
Rita, please unmute yourself.
Yes, I did now. So you mentioned about the previous 3 sessions also. They're available on YouTube, right? Today was Tomo Kawano-san's
Yes, yes,
session. There were 3 others before this. Those
yes,
are available on YouTube.
yes.
Okay.
Do we
so
have your email address?
yes.
Okay.
So
Manoj, please note.
yeah,
Yes.
could you please
Okay.
send the YouTube links to the other 3 sessions?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
My
Sure.
first one I joined because I wanted to listen to Kawane-san, so I would like to listen to others as well. The
Yeah,
previous.
sure, ma'am.
Ritam sir, we will every month we will be having one lecture, and then in February we have a mega international conference. So we will send you the information and please join. The February
Yes, so-
conference will be in virtual mode, but these could be in hybrid mode or virtual mode. We do not know.
Okay, thank you. I would really appreciate if somebody could send me
Yes,
the link.
definitely, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tomo-san. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Jan. Thank you,
I-
Manoj-san. Thank you, audience,
Thank
for
you.
making this very lively and wonderful. Thank you, Inoue-san. Nice to see
Takako
you.
先生も
Nice
ど
to
うも
see
あり
you.
がとうございました。
Happy Diwali. Happy
Happy
Diwali.
Diwali.